Hey everybody, we're closing out our series called Permission Granted today. It's been a great conversation about using the freedom we have in a way that honors God, ourselves, and others. As we get going today, let me tell you a quick story, okay? I remember I was in 7th grade. I had health class, and there's a bit of homework that we got sent home with to work on. That's what homework is, obviously, okay? And I was a little confused on how to complete the homework well, and so instead of like a good student asking my teacher for help, I asked my friend Brooke for help. And not only did I ask her for help, I asked for her worksheet, okay? So she sends me home with her completed worksheet. And you know how we do sometimes that we're not supposed to do. I'm not condoning this behavior, but you just change the wording a little bit, right? And then you finish the homework, Brooke finishes the homework, easy peasy. Here's the problem though. I took it home and I didn't do it. And so when the time came where my parents asked me, hey, did you finish your health homework? And I was like, yes, another thing you shouldn't do, which is lying. And they were like, okay, cool. Can you go grab it for us? And I was like, sure. I'm literally getting lightheaded thinking about it right now. So I got up off the couch, I walked to my backpack to start getting my homework out of it. And I kid you not, I passed out. Boom, just flat on my butt on the ground. I came to, and I remember it was like something out of a war movie. My mom was like dragging me to the couch. My dad was like, I'll go get some water. And there I was like, okay, maybe we'll just focus on me passing out and they won't know about the homework. So I sit on the couch, I'm drinking some water, and I hear my dad go, I don't think he did his homework. Not only did I get found out for not doing my homework, that same day, my parents made the incredibly responsible decision for us to drive to Brooke's house and for me to apologize to her in front of her parents. Oh, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. But moral of the story, bad decisions, bad just all over, okay? And me and Brooke are good, I hope. But have you ever been there in something like that? Maybe not the exact same situation, but I'm sure you've made a decision that impacted someone else in your life and not in a good way. The reality is we've all been there before, and we probably all will be there again, because what we do with our freedom doesn't just impact us, it impacts others too. Maybe you know this to be true because you've been on the other end of this deal. You've been burned because someone else made a choice and it impacted you in a not so good way. You discovered that your friends hung out without you and you were left feeling completely left out. Your sibling ate the last slice of pizza even though they knew you were saving it for yourself. Your classmates were super loud in the cafeteria and now everyone is being punished by having to eat in silence. Of course, sometimes the choices are bigger, and that means the hurt is bigger too. One of your parents left, and you had to figure out life as a family without them. Someone spread a rumor about you, and now it feels like everyone thinks that you're the worst. Your sibling made a choice that got them in major trouble, and you had to deal with the fallout at home. On the flip side, if we're honest, then we also might need to admit that we've made choices that hurt others. Maybe we didn't mean to, or maybe we did, but either way, our actions had an impact on the people around us, and that impact ultimately wasn't good. Maybe you betrayed a friend's trust by sharing their secrets with others. Maybe you posted something online that hurt someone that you care about. Maybe you lied to your grandparent, or let your small group leader down, or dropped an old friend in favor of a new friend. Just like someone else's actions can hurt us, our choices can hurt others in ways we never intended to. So here's the question. Are we really free to do whatever we want if doing what we want hurts someone else? When we think about how our words, actions, and choices impact the people around us, or the way someone else's words, actions, and choices impact us, the answer isn't all that clear. Maybe a better question to ask is this: how do we make sure we're using our freedom in a way that helps people rather than hurting people? In this series, we've been looking at the book of Genesis in the Old Testament. It's the first book of the Bible, and it literally means beginning. Very early in that story, we meet two brothers named Cain and Abel. Their story begins with each of them doing something people did all the time back then, bringing an offering to God. Take a look. Now, Abel kept flocks, and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. The Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry and his face was downcast. Now, if you're like me, you might have questions about why Abel's offering was accepted but Cain's wasn't. People who study the Bible have speculated all sorts of reasons as to why this happened, but let's land on this one. The heart behind the offering mattered to God. Cain and Abel both brought something, but it seems as only Abel did it with the right heart. But no matter why it happened, Cain was furious about it. But instead of dealing with his disappointment in a healthy way, he chose to let his anger take control. Now, hold up for a second. Time out. Beep. Let's pause here for a moment, because I don't want you to miss this. It's important for you and I to pay attention to how we choose to react in different situations. When we're upset, disappointed, or jealous, like Cain was, each of us has a choice to pause before we react to those feelings. That's honestly a great first step in making sure we don't use our freedom in ways that harm ourselves or others. In fact, that's pretty much what God told Cain in this passage. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." That's intense, huh? Well, to put it in our own words, it's like God was saying, "Hey, Cain, be careful with your choices here. If you make a choice that's good and right, you'll be okay. But if you react out of anger and hurt, you're walking a road towards sin, regret, and hurt." Either way, Cain had the freedom to choose his next step, and God was encouraging him to use that freedom wisely. Unfortunately, Cain didn't take the lesson to heart. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where's your brother Abel?" "I don't know," he replied. "Am I my brother's keeper?" Whoa, that escalated quickly. 1 second, Cain was just mad, and the next, he was making a choice that literally ended his brother's life. Not the best way to use his freedom, right? While the first part of this scripture is wild, I don't want us to miss the last part here. Look back at that question Cain asked, "Am I my brother's keeper?" It gets right to the heart of the issue. Cain was basically saying, "I'm not responsible for him. It's not my job to watch out for him." But the truth is, Cain was responsible. His actions had consequences. They ended his brother's life and brought serious repercussions that impacted Cain and those around him. And the same is true for us too. No, we're not about to do something this extreme, though we can definitely relate to being mad at our siblings. But God did design us to live in connection with each other, to take care of each other, and to take responsibility for how our choices and actions impact those around us. And that means what we do with our freedom has the potential to either help or harm those we interact with every single day. That's why it's important to remember this: your freedom impacts others. You are your brother's or sister's keeper, and so am I. And that doesn't mean just siblings. We're the keeper of everyone we're connected to. We're here to support and look out for one another. We're here to use our freedom to impact other people for good. Doing so actually helps you experience freedom in a better way, a way where your actions lift others up instead of tearing them down. In fact, this idea continued throughout the entire Bible. Paul, one of the first followers of Jesus, wrote this about freedom in a letter to one of the churches he started in the town of Corinth. This letter became the book of 1 Corinthians. Check it out. "I have the right to do anything," you say, "but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek their own good, but the good of others." Paul doesn't sugarcoat it, does he? Not every way we use our freedom is good or wise. If we want to follow Jesus every day, then we should use whatever freedom we do have for the good of all people, not just ourselves. The way we treat them, the way we welcome them in, the way we serve them, it all makes an impact. And when we use our freedom to treat others with goodness and kindness, we're treating them the way Jesus wants us to treat them. It reflects how much following Jesus means to us. Listen, You and I have to recognize the limits of our freedom. Freedom isn't about doing whatever we want, no matter how it impacts others. It's about using our freedom in ways that bring good to the people around us. It's about remembering that your freedom impacts others. Here's an example. It can be easy to think we're all like a potted plant. Now, a potted plant needs water and sunlight to survive, but it isn't actually affecting other plants. It does its own thing. If it thrives, great. If not, it doesn't really impact other plants. But we're not like a potted plant, living all alone. Instead, we're more like a plant that's part of an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, a plant's well-being is directly connected to the other living things around it. The plant depends on animals for pollination or to scatter the plant seeds onto the soil. The plant's location near other plants and trees influences how it may get water and sunlight. Some plants even thrive with the help of bacteria or fungus. In an ecosystem, the health of every plant and animal is connected to each other. And just like plants and animals in an ecosystem, each of us impacts those around us. So how do we live in a way that makes sure we're using our freedom to impact others for good? I think we can start with 3 things. 1, pray and ask God to give you wisdom. When you face a big choice about how you will use your freedom, the best thing to do first, pray. Spend time asking God to show you the way your choices may be impacting others, for good and for not so good. 2, think before you act. Before you make a choice, ask yourself, how will this affect the people around me? Is it unloving, hurtful, disrespectful, harmful, mean? If it is, it probably won't lead to good for you or the people around you. One of the best ways to avoid that is to pause and consider the outcome before you make the choice. If you're not sure, I'd encourage you to talk it over with a trusted adult, like your small group leader, who can help you think it all the way through. And 3, take responsibility for your choices. When you mess up, and we all do, own it, apologize, make it right, make a commitment to not do it again. When your choice impacts someone in a way that hurts or harms them, let them know you're sorry and work to make a different decision next time. This is what taking responsibility looks like. Of course, if someone is using their freedom in a way that hurts you or someone else in abusive or hidden ways, it's okay and important to use the freedom you have to speak up. Ask for help from a trusted adult in your life who can help you take a step toward healing for yourself or someone else. It's not easy, but it's one of the best ways you can use your freedom to impact others for good. Remember, your freedom impacts others. The good news is, we don't have to do this alone. Jesus showed us what it looks like to take responsibility for others. And through his example, we can learn to do the same for the people in our lives. So, as you head to small group now, I want you to think about how you can follow that example by answering this question. What's one way you can use your freedom for the good of others?